Haribol, I am Gokul Das, disciple of my esteemed spiritual master Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, who is known as Bhaktabandha, the friend of all the devotees. And today we're going to have history. In the early 19th century, something unprecedented happened. The European explorers who conquered all the new worlds and met just the remains of some ancient cultures, now low and easy to bend to their will. They came finally to India, which is where they originally set out to go. In the 15th century, Columbus wanted to go open a seafaring trade route to India. But something unprecedented happened, because until then they felt entitled to subjugate the natives they met, because they felt in possession of the superior culture, philosophy, and means to do so. But when they came to India, things changed. Actually, in the early 19th century, when the first scriptures of India came into Europe, a lot of scholars came to the conclusion that India is the origin of all the cultures, the original nation, and possessing the original knowledge in the form of the Vedas. So that threatened the Eurocentric view of the world, in which Europe is the topmost and the standard for all things. All nations, all cultures are measured according to the European standard. If a nation has not shunned their religious roots in favor of science, if they have not arranged themselves in metropolitan structures with urban lifestyles that is engineered towards the production and trading of goods and creating an infrastructure that facilitates enjoyment and comfort as much as possible, then they're considered backwards. So the Indian philosophy and religions threatened that status quo. So what happened is that a Christian hardliner called Franz Bopp, he not only tried but successfully created a philosophy to convince the people of India and the rest of the world of the inferiority of India. It is called the Aryan Invasion. Out of thin air, he created an ancient nation and an ancient language, which supposedly is the root of the European nations and of the Indian nations and languages. In that way, there was a stroke of genius, because in that way, supposedly these Aryans came into India in 1400 BC. And by that, all the scriptures of India, all their writings of history, which goes back thousands and thousands of years, became mythology, became fantasy. And eventually, even the people of India today are convinced of that. A lot of people here convinced that their treasures of history and philosophy are just myth. So we can see that this tendency to cheat is very prominent in our science and understanding of this world. They said that the empiric knowledge has 4 defects: Karnapatava, Brahmat, Brahm, and Vipralipsa. Our senses are imperfect. We can only see between ultraviolet and infrared. We can only hear frequencies between, I think, 20 and 60 or 80 hertz. All our senses are limited to a certain range, and they're prone to be cheated or be wrong, like to take a rope to be a snake in darkness, or to hear the voice of someone thinking it to be our friends and to find out it belongs to some stranger. So information of this world is very limited. And then our intelligence is also limited. We are prone to make mistakes, especially seeing that already the information that we have is lacking. Like if in mathematics you have a formula, if one of the variables is wrong, the whole calculation is wrong. So having only partial information is like having a book, but on every page there's only 1 or 2 words written and everything else is blanked out. So how much sense can you make of that? And with all that insufficient information, to err as human, with all the mistakes that we make, the wrong conclusions we come to, we are automatically in illusion. We have a faulty conception of who am I, what is this world, what is the supreme, what is supreme. And Vipralipsa, the tendency to cheat. So here we can see Franz Bob, he cheated. Why? For gain. We cheat for gain, we cheat for comfort, or actually sometimes we cannot help but to cheat because we don't actually know the truth. Like also another example, until today in the empiric science there is no proof if either the Earth revolves around the Sun, which is the heliocentric model, or if the Sun evolves around the Earth, which is the geocentric model. Albert Einstein finally concluded that according to the knowledge that we have, the information that we have, both can be true. Just like when you sit in a train and on the opposite side there's another train moving in the other direction, unless you have a third point to orient yourself with, you don't know which train is moving. Are you moving or is the other train moving? So we cannot actually say if the heliocentric model is true or the geocentric model is true. But we opted recently, means like since the last 300-400 years, for the heliocentric model. Since the model is where the Earth is in the center, is potent with so much religious and philosophical meaning, giving so much significance to this life and what we do and the life after, and giving favor to the original narration of the religious scriptures, in which Earth and this universe is made by a creator for a certain purpose. The advantage of the Vedic science, like we can find in the Bhagavad Gita, is that their scholars they do not only have to have intellectual prowess, but first and foremost, they need to have purity of heart and mind. They cannot be the servant of anyone. They cannot be employed by anyone, depending on someone and to fulfilling their whims and desires and progressing their science according to fulfill their needs. So they have to live on charity. They have to give charity, whatever they do not need for their own maintenance. And that way maintain a pure mind and pure heart. So if you want to understand the world as it is, bereft of the cheating tendency, we should study the Vedic scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita. Our whole Western culture is based on so much hypocrisy in so many ways that we do not even know, because like the geocentric model is taught as reality, although there's no proof until now. The heliocentric model. Although there's no proof for it. Or so many things in our culture, like in the West, why do we eat meat? Why do we drink wine? This comes from our Roman roots. We call ourselves like Europe is the land of Christians, but the original Christians actually they did not drink and they did not eat meat.
Do you have any praman for that?
Well, not here right now, but there's many quotes from different of the apostles of Jesus.
They didn't eat meat.
They didn't eat meat, and also, as far as I know, also no fish.
But the blood of Christ is like drinking the wine.
Well, these are all rituals that have been introduced on the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD.
The blood of Christ, because they can't hear me on the wine probably.
Yeah.
Drinking the blood of Christ, the wine, that's a later ritual.
That's a later ritual.
Okay.
Because in 325 AD, Christianity was made the official Roman religion and was therefore adjusted to fit the Roman lifestyle, which included meat eating and drinking of wine. And then later, actually, the debate if you should eat animals or not has been discussed countless times. And then a Christian scholar in the 13th century called Thomas of Aquin, who influenced Christian thought significantly for hundreds of years, he stated that we can slaughter animals because animals have no soul.
Thomas Aquinas, yeah?
Thomas of Aquin, in the 13th century.
He started that idea,
Yeah, he started that idea. But it's good to know also that he also stated that women have no soul. And later on,
He said that as well.
Yeah, he said that as well in the same context. So therefore, women can be subjugated. Later, when they went to Africa, they stated that black people don't have a soul. When they discovered America, they stated Indians, Native Americans don't have a soul, and therefore the Christians are entitled to do with them as they please. Because
So that's a good point, because you're making the point that, okay, if you accept that because many Christians say animals don't have a soul, so it's a very antiquated idea. Like the idea that animals have no soul is embedded in the same idea proposed by this Aquinas, that women have no soul and white people, if you're not white, you don't have a soul, like that basically. So if you take it in the context of all those different things, then it becomes very obviously ludicrous, I guess, right?
yeah.
Can you say something more about the Aryan Invasion? Has anything come out that proves it false, or any more details about that?
Well, the Aryan Invasion is a construct based on Franz Bopp, who was a linguist and who tried to prove that Sanskrit is not the original language, but Sanskrit also, like all the European languages, roots in another ancient language of another ancient nation, of which there is no proof until today. Not even one arrowhead has been found of that fabled ancient nation. Not even one word or letter or writing has been discovered of that ancient nation. Still, yeah, for the precepts of language, for the precepts of Sanskrit and the precepts of the Indian culture, nothing has been found. Still, it's a complete fabrication. There's no proof, not even one arrowhead, not even one shred of text.
They've also found different proofs or contradictions to the Aryan Invasion theory that show that really they came from India originally, right? Like they haven't found proofs for the Aryan Invasion, but they've also found proofs that show that their Aryans actually came from India. Have you studied that at all?
Well, there's many archaeological findings. There's this book, Forbidden Archaeology, by Michael Cremo, that also discusses different archaeological findings, not only in India but all around the world, that completely change our concept of history. It shows that there's ancient civilizations, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 years old, more advanced than our present technology, our present cultures. So in that sense, there's lots of proof, but the main thing is that to understand that the understanding of where India comes from is a complete fabrication. And it's in every textbook, in every school, even in India, they teach this. Although that Aryan nation that came into India, there's no proof, not even one shred of proof from where they've been before. It's completely fabricated. Okay.
All right, so we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna.